Thank you, Randy. And I just want to say quickly before I start, I just miss all of you so much, and I'm so grateful to be here. I'm honored by Randy's words, and it is such a joy and privilege to be part of this community and to work particularly with the farm team, who are just an amazing group of folks. Autumn's going to be running a little slideshow to one side or the other of me as I'm talking. Um, so let's take a deep breath and then I'll begin. So, in the deep winter, our eyes are drawn to the silhouettes of trees, reaching for stars across evening sapphire skies. Lately, I've been thinking about the Israeli figs we planted 4 years ago in our parking lot at CRC. In their home climate, Israeli figs grow into expansive, graceful trees. But here, during our harsher winters, they die back to the ground. Each year, we wait for those first baby fig leaves unfurling in the warm April sun. We marvel as they grow into ever larger shrubs each year. Why does this miracle happen? The secret is in the roots, alive and strong in Mother Earth's warm embrace. Tu B'Shvat's teachings invite us to look deeper, beneath the surface, at the root level, as the sap begins to rise, to feel our own hearts and souls quicken along with the first stirring of the growing season. Our roots as a people grow out of the story of creation, a tale whose wisdom teaches us that Yod He Vav He, the great breath of life, shapes us, Adam, human beings, from Adamah, Mother Earth. Yod He Vav He breathes us into being with Ruach, great rushing wind. Our very breath intones the name of divinity and connects us in reciprocal relationship with all living beings. Plant breath for animal breath, oxygen for carbon dioxide. This wisdom teaches us that we are inseparable from the earth, essential to the ecosystem. Our ancestors were an indigenous people living in deep intimacy with their whole ecosystem, immersed in transcendent, radical awe and amazement. The roots of our tradition, our prayers, rituals, and holidays are intertwined with the cycles of the sun and moon, Earth's rhythms, and the agricultural seasons of our ancestral homeland, Israel. About 40 years ago, Earth-based Judaism movements began to reclaim our roots, looking to sustainably nourish and heal our entire ecosystem with its wisdom. Healing the whole ecosystem, or Tikkun Olam, has been at the heart of our beloved CRC community since we set roots down in the center of our city many moons ago. Through all our relations in this corner of the world, we know firsthand how racial, economic, and environmental injustice impact our neighbors, friends, and community. We understand that the most vulnerable among us, human, earth, plant, and animal, suffer the most serious health impacts of pollution and climate change. That our African American friends and neighbors disproportionately suffer these health impacts, face poverty and food insecurity. We strive to respond in holy ways. Our CRC Mitzvah Farm is one of these holy ways. Founded by Rabbi Randy through the Green Faith certification process nearly 7 years ago, our Mitzvah Farm is a space of resistance, allowing justice, healing, creativity, and community to flourish. Together, we grow more than 1,000 pounds of fresh organic food annually for our most vulnerable neighbors who get their groceries from Trinity Food Ministry. We celebrate and pray with our whole bodies as our ancestors did, immersed in wonder and awe. Our growing seasons align beautifully with those of our ancestors, so our work at the farm intertwines with our holiday cycle. Planting at Pesach, first harvest at Shavuot, final harvest at Sukkot. Some of our ancient agricultural traditions are gold standard sustainable practices still in use today. Tu B'Shvat is one example. In the days of the temple, fruit was offered as a tithe after a tree was 3 years old. Tu B'Shvat served as a uniform dating of trees. All trees planted in the past year turned one on this date. It's orchard practice yet today that we don't allow a young tree to bear fruit for 3 years after planting. Why wait 3 years? The answer is in the roots. When a tree is prevented from bearing fruit, all the energy is focused into developing strong, deep root systems that sustain the entire orchard for their lifetime. That's right, the entire orchard, not the individual tree. All trees, whether in orchards, parks, or forests, live in collaborative community with each other. Their roots intertwined and connected by vast networks of underground fungus through which they communicate and share resources. Stronger and older trees nourish younger ones and those in distress. Trees strengthen each other. This year, we have an opportunity to observe an ancient Jewish practice which occurs every 7 years, Shmita, or the sabbatical year of rest and release, which began on Rosh Hashanah last fall. 3 different sections of Torah outline the practice, emphasizing different aspects in each. In Exodus, we learned the roots of this practice began when our ancestors stood at Mount Sinai and heard these words: "For 6 years you are to sow your land and to gather in its produce. But in the 7th, you are to let it go and let it be, that the needy of your people may eat, and what they allow to remain, the wildlife of the field may eat. Do thus with your vineyard and with your olive grove." The section in Leviticus more fully outlines how Shemitah year should be observed agriculturally. It is a Sabbath of Sabbath ceasing for the land, for those who work the land, human and animal alike. The Sabbath yield, the food available during the fallow year, is not to be hoarded by landowners, but is meant for all. A crowded table with a place for everyone: landowners, servants, sojourners, and beasts, but especially those most vulnerable in the community. The community is commanded to care for and strengthen in empowering ways those who sink down in poverty, and specifically to not oppress them with crushing labor. The section in Deuteronomy focuses entirely on release for those in poverty and those enslaved. For those in poverty, release is given by erasing all debt. For those in slavery, release is given through freedom and payment for past labor. True liberation is found in release and repair. Oppression and inequality are systematically dismantled. Greater balance is restored to the community. But Deuteronomy goes deeper, calling the entire community to personal transformation with these words: "When there is among you a needy person, you are not to toughen your heart. You are not to shut your hand to your brother, the needy one. You are to open, yes, open your hand to your brother." Rabbi Randy and I began considering the question of observing Shemitah last summer. We really wrestled with the texts and the pros and cons of letting the farm rest this year. Knowing that the food we grow feeds those most vulnerable in our community, it was not an easy decision at all. But when considering the health of the whole ecosystem, we knew observing Shemitah was the right way forward. We have been sowing and gathering at the farm for 6 years. In that time, our annual food production grew from 50 pounds to 1,500 pounds at its peak. Our yield has declined over the past 2 years. Plants have become diseased and died prematurely in the field. Weed control challenges have increased. All of these indicate a garden in distress. Dean Gunderson of St. Louis helped us analyze the challenges. Our garden is exhausted from producing for 6 years, and the soil is compacted because of climate change-driven extreme rainfall. and drought cycles. I told Dean we were considering observing Shmita and planting cover crops. Cover crops are plants like rye, oats, and sorghum, which create large root systems. Dean, a devout liberal Christian, went straight to his Bible to study the texts. He was simultaneously thrilled and amazed to learn this ancient agricultural practice is found in Torah. Dean taught us that leaving land fallow for a year is the first form of soil regeneration used by early humans as they moved into settled agriculture from hunting and gathering. Today, it is still known to be the most effective, gold standard, sustainable organic farming practice. And it is precisely what will regenerate our farm, the instructions found in Torah. How is the land healed in this process? You have probably guessed. The secret is in the roots and their reciprocal relationship with microbes in the soil. Up to 90% of the sugar produced by plants is not sent into food for us, but is sent down to the roots in order to feed the microbes. Microbes break down minerals essential to plants and carry them to the roots in exchange for food. Allowing plant roots to run deep and undisturbed for a year creates a space of resistance which heals the soil, allowing it to breathe and wildly increase the microbe population. While this scientific knowledge has only been uncovered in the past 50 years, our ancestors' indigenous wisdom knew that the land needed Shabbat, a long Shabbat. The microbiome needed time to rest, to feast, to be fruitful and multiply. By guarding Shabbat for our land, our farm will be healed, ensuring its ability to feed our neighbors facing food insecurity for years to come. The Mitzvah Farm is the first garden in the Seed St. Louis network to use organic soil regeneration on this scale. We are partnering together to document and teach this wisdom to other growers in the region. Our farm team will still gather to care for the farm and orchard. We will take time to think and dream creatively about the future of our work at the farm, creating new structures to support new growth. And we plan to collaborate with other congregations to grow for Trinity Food Ministry and ensure a supply of fresh produce this coming season. And we will plant again during Pesach 2023. But Shmita is about more than crops and agriculture. Rooted in our ancestors' experience of living in a radically interdependent ecosystem, Shmita offers both a vision and the space of resistance to work towards a world in which oppressive systems are dismantled, balance and justice are restored, empathy and kindness prevail, the vulnerable are cared for and strengthened, and all have a place at the table with enough to fill their need. Our beloved CRC community strives to live these principles, not just every 7 years, but every day in every way. Shmita values are our core values, our root values as a community. Essentially, Shmita is about transformation, both communally and individually. I have wondered, is the key to this transformation found in the experience of communal vulnerability when crops were not planted? During what seems like a long winter of discontent, we have experienced large-scale communal vulnerability. Our hearts have been bruised and broken during these times in so many different ways. It would be tempting to protect ourselves, to allow our hearts to toughen. So how do we prevent this? You got it. The secret is in our roots. So right now, I'm going to invite you to just take a moment, place your feet on the floor if you can, and settle in comfortably. Take a deep breath in. Oxygen, gift of the trees. Exhale, carbon dioxide, your gift to the trees. Feel a space open within. In your mind's eye, imagine your own roots growing and expanding deep within Mother Earth's warm embrace. Feel your roots connected and intertwined with the roots of those you love near and far. With our CRC community, with all those communities and groups you are a part of. Feel them connected with the roots of your ancestors and our ancestors. Feel them connected with the roots of the great Eitz Chaim, the tree of life. Open yourself to the energy of this vast interconnected network, to the resources we share with each other: creativity, joy, compassion, healing, love, hope, shalom. Feel how we strengthen each other, each one essential to the whole ecosystem. Feel the sap begin to rise, quickening our souls, softening our hearts, opening our hands. Feel the sap rise as surely as baby fig leaves will unfurl in the warm April sun. Shabbat Shalom.